Morning, this is Jimmy Cross of Moscow speaking. Um, Actually, the picture on the thumbnail was made by my granddaughter on her iPhone, some program, and it seems to me that it's quite funny. I must say that the last weeks, days, months are full with polemics about what to do to oppose Russian aggression. And the main point now, I think, remember that I'm a pacifist, a complete pacifist. I'm against any war. Do not kill anyone, anyone, under any circumstances, for any goal, never. Or you oppose Darwin, you're a monkey again, ape, not a human. So, oh no, even wolf, lion. So, for the most part, discussion about resistance to Russian aggression is about whether Western countries must send armies, soldiers, officers, generals, marshals, or they must send only arms or something else, or they must put atomic bomb at the disposal of the Ukrainian government, and so on and so forth. By the way, as a historian, I must say that, first of all, sanctions, what is called sanctions, is a sort of the trade war. Trade war, just like continental blockade in the beginning of the 19th century. And this tradition of trade war goes back to the high Middle Ages. We must remember this in order to understand that this is not just, we don't want to have any business with our enemy. Because you do have some business, but you want to destroy your enemy. I understand, but just let us name the processes with their own names. This is trade war. And this trade war contradicts to one of the definitions of the just war. I am against the just war. And I think that St. Augustine was, and moreover, the next tradition was completely mistaken from the Christian point of view. But the idea of just war was helpful because it was one of the steps on the road to complete rejection of war. Any criteria of the just war, taken it in its fullness, contradicts to any war. For example, the criteria which I want to mention now, that the war must not harm peaceful citizens, only soldiers. The war must be waged in a way which will not destroy non-combatants. But certainly the war of the West in Iraq, not the first stage, when the Western armies met no real army, no resistance, because it was the south of Iraq. And the heart of Saddam Hussein's reign was in the north of Iraq, in Mosul, which is, by the way, the Bible Nineveh. And the West destroyed Nineveh, Mosul, with all its strength, and hundreds of thousands of people died, perished. And this contradicts to what we call just war. The same with the trade war, because children will lack medicines, and so on and so forth. First of all, medicines. And when I mentioned this in polemics, I got an answer that It's your business. Just stop invasion. But this is silly. I can't stop invasion. You must go to the street, to the square, and protest. Okay, you want me to get to prison? Will it help you? No. Whether you went out to the street, we had Maidan. Tell me Ukrainians. No, it's a mistake. Only a tiny part of Ukrainians protested on Maidan. Only several hundreds people, less than 1,000. But the main problem is much larger. For example, yesterday I thought, meditated, maybe the West was wrong, the West of West, without the definite article, I don't know, that maybe Western armies, Western politicians must have had a separate peace with Hitler in 1945, separate peace with Hitler, and war with Stalin. Stalin was much worse than Hitler. Yeah? And Hitler came to power because the Western countries thought that he will be an opponent to Stalin and will overcome communism. Certainly Hitler had overcome communism in Germany, but at what price? And still, so the Second World War was not the victory of democracy. It was not the victory of the West. It was victory of the totalitarian countries, Russia and China. They've gained contributions, they've gained lands, countries, and so on and so forth. When in 1991, Russian Empire, Russian totalitarian empire, which was called USSR at the moment, lost Eastern Germany, Hungary, Romania, Poland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Bulgaria. Oh, we had such a lot of colonies. It was not because it was too weak. No, it was only because Yeltsin and Gorbachev, struggling with each other, at the moment lost their grasp. And after that, Russian totalitarian empire tries to restore her power. That's what is going on. Yesterday, I've read the article of Vladimir Pastukhov, professor of the London University, who is a typical communist demagogue. He was born in 1962. When he was 27, he became a doctor of sciences, of political sciences in Kievan University. And his dissertation was about the bonuses of the socialist state. In the 90s, he worked for the Constitutional Court of Russia. Interesting, because Russian Constitutional Court is anti-constitutional, anti-court. Then he emigrated, and now he's in London. Certainly he's not a scientist anyway. He's just a demagogue. And remember Erasmus, Western University are proud with their academic freedom, but this academic freedom is also the freedom to the false scientists, especially in the humanitarian knowledge. And this is the case with Vladimir Pastukhov. And his idea is that the war in Ukraine for Kremlin is only a means to distract attention from Navalny, only means to oppose the Russian Revolution. So Navalny, who is a tiny political person, who had only a tiny group, 2,000-3,000 people, and never more than 30,000 people came to support him, and I came not to support him, but support any protest. So he's such an important person to begin the war with Ukraine. Mind that Navalny in 2014 wasn't against the war. He said the Crimea, it's not a burger to return it to Ukraine. We've got it, we must eat it. And mind that this war with Ukraine, this attempt to conquer Ukraine is not the first. The first war of Russia with Ukraine was in 12th century. 12th century under Prince Andrei Bogolubsky, Andrei Bogolubov. So what, when and how West must oppose totalitarian countries? Remember that it's not the question of the Ukrainian war. It's the problem of Russia and China, which are still totalitarian countries. They are not communist countries. Russia, it changed Marxism for nationalism, but China is not a communist country also. It's just a totalitarian country. Communism and Marxism are two very different conceptions. Communism, real communism, communism of Fourier, of Owen, of Lamennais, of Abel Lamennais. Communism is a non-violent structure, non-violent. And Marx and Engels were pro-violent communism. Pro-violent communism is just like pro-violent Christianity. It's nonsense. It's anti-communism. Okay, so I'm afraid, I think that the best way, the only way to really oppose totalitarian regimes is not to produce more arms, more soldiers, more armies. No. It's pacifism, peace, and knowledge. Peace without knowledge is just like knowledge without peace. Senseless. Peace. You see, Russia has a lot of arms, a lot of weapons. Why? Western industries, Western capitalists sold these weapons to Russia even after the invasion to Ukraine, even after that. And during the war with Georgia, Russian war with Georgia, West sold Russia weapons when Russia waged war in Chechnya. And Russia killed hundreds of thousands of people in Chechnya. But the problem is much larger. American Association of Weapon Makers, they have a slogan that weapon doesn't kill, human kill. Okay, weapon doesn't kill. Amen. But what does weapon do? Whether weapon produce grain, vegetables, science, knowledge, life? What for do you produce weapons? What it produce? Weapons produce destruction. Oh yeah, weapons produce stability, safety. No, only visibility of stability and safety. Fake stability, fake safety. This is what is produced by weapons. Amen. Bye. Jimmy Krotov, Moscow. Safantseva, not far from Moscow.